So I had a conversation with God, and I basically said, God, you know me, you know your son. I'm not the best person at saying no. So the only way I can leave the job is if I get sacked. And and then I think 2 weeks later,
You pray to be sacked.
exactly. So that's exactly what people said in the church when they heard testimony. They were like, "What?" So what happened? So I think 2 weeks later,
Yeah.
Go on.
All right. So today we are joined by Scott Ohene-Nyako. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yeah.
Did I say your surname right?
You said it better than I do, so it's good.
I'll tell you why I said it. I'll tell you why I probably said it better than you, because I went to school in Ghana with someone with that exact same surname, so I had to learn how to say it.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh,
when I was in Morning Star, same surname. So
really?
that's where that came from. Scott,
Okay.
yeah.
Oh.
How are you feeling? Welcome to a conversation with series at the Sound of Accra. How are you feeling, Scott?
I'm feeling very good. I'm feeling well. I'm feeling excited for the conversation as well, actually. So it's been good. The sun is shining. We're here. We're doing good. So I'm looking forward to it.
Excellent. And the sun is shining, and so shall it continue to shine across the weekend, hopefully. I'm hearing in Accra right now it's not as hot in the UK, so a little bit of competition, a little bit of transatlantic competition. Hopefully we can make the podcast hotter than both countries. So let's see how we get on.
Definitely.
All right. So for those of you who don't know about Scott, just a micro bio here. So Scott is the founder of 478 Studios. They are design and creative studios. Scott's going to tell us a little bit more about the 478 agency, and also he's a husband and he is a father. So we'll learn more about fatherhood, and we'll learn more about his faith and other things that regards to Scott. So Scott, let's go straight into it. All right. So give us a quick introduction about 478 Studios, and first of all, why the name 478? I mean, that's quite random. I mean, I'm sure you can help us out and let us understand that.
So yeah, I get asked that quite a lot, and it's quite a unique and quite an odd number to use for a name of a company, full stop. But the story behind 478 Studios is, first of all, I wanted to, at the time of my life where I decided to go back into being an entrepreneur, I was going through like a bit of a reflective stage, so I kind of wanted to create a business that kind of reflected where I am and where I want to go in my life, in terms of something that is reflective of my mission, my purpose. And the number is actually a number that actually kind of like developed over time during a project I did back at uni. So I went to uni at Leeds, and my final project before we graduated was all about black stereotypes. And it came to the point where, after weeks and weeks of research and surveys with various members of the on campus, it came to a point where I was now, deadline days coming, and I had no name for the project whatsoever. And the project was all around trying to ask people to answer some quite thought-provoking questions around how they perceive and interact with people of colour, in particular black people, around the whole premise around stereotyping. And I think the narrative for that project was all around the idea that until you get closer to people, like you do in art, you aren't able to see the unique nuances and the imperfections and the perfect elements about that person. And so before you decide to make a judgment, get a little bit closer to the person before you make that stereotype. And that was the kind of like premise of that whole project. But going back to the whole number, the number came about because, as I was saying, I think it was probably around 2 o'clock in the morning. Deadline day was literally next day, and I had no name for the whole project. So I decided to put my face on Photoshop, and there's a tool called the Pipette tool in Photoshop where it allows you to find the color code of any color. You apply the Pipette tool, the Pipette 2. So I decided to just give it a go. Let's see what happens. So I found that my Pantone color of my complexion is 478. So 10 years later, when I'm now going through a reflective stage of life, I'm now thinking about marriage, family, all of this kind of stuff. And I'm creating a business that is reflective and represents, I guess, black culture and also diversity. I thought, let's create a business and maybe rebirth this name or number 478. So that's how it came about, 478 Studios.
Wow, that's powerful right there. So I can see how you've taken your university projects and experiences at university and in your life into, your actual agency. It's quite funny because one of my best friends, he's got an agency called Studio 14. Shout out to Toby. They're based in Birmingham and Lagos, and he named the studio after the door number of his parents' house address. So it's quite interesting to hear all these different stories that people have for naming their agencies. But I think your one is quite special.
Thank you.
So this is a good segue. You're welcome. This is a good segue for you to tell us more about 478, because I know you have a mission with the studio to kind of like represent, the ethnic, black backgrounds and cultures a lot more with your agency. Could you tell us a bit more about that?
Yeah, so I guess at the heart of what we do, we are a branding agency that believes in the power of branding, storytelling and design to elevate and create brands led by diverse and conscious founders. And what I mean by conscious and diverse founders is just trying to use the power of good design, the power of good branding and good storytelling to give those founders who are diverse the equal amounts of, I guess, equity and position and opportunity to have a brand that is beautiful, that is powerful, and that speaks to their community. So hopefully I can partner with those founders who have some great ideas, some global ideas, and have ideas that will hopefully change the world one day or make communities better. So that's kind of our mission. So helping those founders with great ideas who come from diverse backgrounds with their branding and their design, and hopefully create great products and great businesses.
That's fantastic, Scott. It really sounds like you want to take the extension of a person and help to realize or bring to life, who they are as a person, and all the potential that's deep inside within them, and use that to help bring to life a particular business idea or a brand. You understand? Because at the end of the day, we are an extension of our brands, and sometimes brands can kind of represent who we are as a person as well. And that's why there's so many unique brands, because everyone is unique, and because everyone's unique, we have so many brands, so many businesses that are unique, because some of these brands and businesses have been established on the back of unique people and unique people of color, and unique people of culture. So I think it's powerful what you're doing, bringing design, storytelling, and branding all together. And in this particular case, working with conscious and diverse founders and helping them to bring to life certain ideas and helping them to realize their potential in terms of what they have to offer, in terms of giving value to the world, to the society and communities as well. I liked when you mentioned, giving back to communities as well. And there's quite a few people out there who are trying to contribute to, different types of communities. Shout out to Alicia from Black Create Connect. She's trying to contribute to the Black community, doing what she's doing in particular. And there's so many different people on these missions. Anyway, let's continue. So that's a powerful story regarding the name of the agency and learning a little bit more about what you do. Tell us a bit about some of the clients you've worked with. So I know you've worked with quite a number of dynamic and interesting brands, Barclays, Eagle Labs. You've also worked with the Black Founders Hub as well. Tell us about some of the projects that have been quite special to you, that have stood out.
Yeah,
and why?
I think the one you just mentioned was quite a special one, Black Founders Hub, in terms of, I guess from the name itself, it's quite fitting in terms of my mission and the mission of 478 Studios, but also the scope of work that we were able to do for Black Founders Hub. So the project in itself was a full rebrand. So we did everything from their strategy in terms of helping them identify what their mission is and their purpose. And then from there, we use that to inform how we're going to creatively create what we call the visual identity. So things like the logo, the color palettes, the typefaces that we use and create to represent that brand across all the collateral and media. So from the website as well. And then from there, we then also had the opportunity to create and design their website. This was like an e-commerce website that was able to be a place that hosted their members from their various networks, and also a place to host events and purchase events for their masterclasses, which is basically a beautiful platform for Black founders who are looking to scale up their service-based businesses, and hopefully using platforms such as masterclasses, knowledge-based environments and events as well to hopefully inform, educate, and also elevate some of those incredible and gifted Black founders that are part of their community and network that they were building, led by three amazing people. So you got Rashida Abdullahi, David McQueen, and Denise Nurse, who were the co-founders of Black Founders Hub. And I think the beauty of that project was, I think from the start to the end, it was kind of like a weird thing. So I remember that was a project that actually was one of those ones where my faith probably kicked in at its peak almost when I was starting 478 Studios. So I was living at home with my dad, and before I got married, and I was thinking about, I think during that time when I first got offered the opportunity to pitch for the project, I think I was doing like a social media fast. And whoever, if you don't know what social media fast is, it's basically, you know, staying off social media, because social media can be quite distracting sometimes. So I thought, let me get off this platform, Instagram. So I had like 2 or 3 weeks off Instagram, and then when I came back onto social media, I had a DM from one of the founders saying, "Oh, we'd like to maybe ask if you want to be part of this project." But it was like 3 weeks old, the message. So I thought, oh gosh, I've now wasted or missed an opportunity that could have been really, really perfect. But obviously it didn't. That wasn't the case. So luckily, a bit of prayer and a bit of presenting, we were gifted the opportunity to work with them. And I think that was a project that allowed me to really, I guess, like fine-tune my skills, and also help me to be quite creative in terms of how can I actually create something that could hopefully be quite effective, and also hopefully be something that would be of value to the founders as well. And I think the most beautiful part of the project was, I think that's where I was able to use poetry, which I think I now call my superpower, I think, in a way to kind of paint a picture for my clients. So what I mean by that is I use poetry quite often now to create what branding agencies normally call a brand manifesto. And that is normally what I do for the clients now going forward. So as part of the whole strategy kind of elements of the brand or the rebrand I deliver, I would probably have a little bit where I call it a brand narrative, where I use the workshop insights with a client to create a poem, so to speak, or spoken word piece that allows us to really, I guess most importantly, tell the client that, hey, I really get what you're saying, and this is my interpretation of your purpose and your mission and the brand and business you're creating. And then from that, we normally are able to find a small element of that poem or within that poem to inspire the creative afterwards.
That's great. That's awesome. So you also have a play in the creative design of the actual project. So clients may come with their own ideas and perspectives and feelings of how they want the project to go, but then your agency will also come up with their own ideas, and you would recommend certain ideas based on your experience and your creativity in terms of how they could best get their ideas and how they could best represent and communicate their business online. And as a result, it sounds like the clients like your proposition, and they tend to go with it.
Yeah. So it was a really great project, and I think the team behind it, they're all incredible individuals as well. So it's a really great project to be part of, and I think just looking back on what we were able to create, and even after the project was then launched, we were able to use that poem, and then I was able to create a small short video where I was able to involve my cousin, who is a quite well-known dancer in Ghana, and she was able to work with me via WhatsApp to art direct and shoot a video on Labadi Beats. I think that was last year, where she basically did a contemporary dance to the spoken word piece that I wrote. And then actually my wife, then at the time, she was the one who was narrating the video. So that's our first little post-marriage, post-wedding project together as a husband and wife. So that was quite fun.
Wonderful.
So it was good.
Wonderful. Congratulations with that. And it shows how amazing the results can be when you repurpose a bit of content. You just never know how far it can take you and where and where you can go and whose attention it can get from you. That's amazing, Scott. There's a few areas you've mentioned that I probably want to double tap on. So, first of all, you're married. Congratulations. I'm sure you've been, married for a little while. I hope it's going well.
Yeah. Oh, thank you so much. Yeah. So, marriage has been beautiful. So I guess, how long have we been married for? I think it'll be a year. It'll be 2 years in September. So it's been
congratulations.
Still fairly new, I guess, compared to some others. But it's been beautiful. And actually, today is actually our son's 6 months birthday. Is that a birthday? I think you can call it a birthday, right? Half a year. So our son is. Our son is 6 months today, so it's a special day today.
Oh, congrats!
Yeah.
Oh, that's wonderful. That's wonderful. That's wonderful. And let's segue. I'll come back to some other points you mentioned. So I'll keep that thought in my mind. Let's talk about what kind of legacy do you want 478 Studios to leave for your family, for your kids? You've been working really hard in this agency for quite some time now, and of course you got some goals which we'll touch to. But what kind of legacy do you want to leave in the future, and what does that future look like for Scott and his family?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think that's the one I'm still trying to really dig deep and I think perfect or find out. But I think the main legacy I want to leave is I want to give back to, I guess, creators back home in Ghana. So like if all things lined up in pleasant places, I think it'd be beautiful if I was able to create some kind of academy or school where creators back home in Ghana were able to, have all fees paid and to be able to do something and just go and follow their dream. So none of that issue around, oh, daddy wants me to be a lawyer, daddy wants me to be an engineer. You can, if you want to be a creative, come to this place. All fees are paid and just, excel, be creative without any kind of shame or any kind of restrictions. That's kind of what I would love to do. Just trying to give the opportunity to hopefully do something for some incredible, talented kids back home. And hopefully, maybe, you never know, maybe I might be back in Ghana. That's fantastic. As well. Yeah.
Okay, so maybe relocation to Ghana could be on the horizon. Who knows in the future?
You never know. We'll see what happens.
All right. Let's see what doors God opens for you. Let's see what happens. I'm loving your vision, Scott. I had a conversation with Mika Abraham in season 2, and she was talking about how talent is in abundance in Ghana, which me and you've probably seen going there, but it just doesn't get the resources and the attention it deserves. And the government are blind to what is out there, sadly, and could do a lot more. I mean, let's face it, there's so many institutions, organizations that could do a lot more, to support creators in Ghana and help to really realize and maximize the potential that we have. So I'm excited to hear about this hub that you're thinking of doing in the future, and hopefully by God's grace that comes to life. Maybe you'll see the Black Creatives Hub, but I suppose maybe not the Black Creatives Hub because everyone is black in Ghana, so maybe 478 Hub or something.
We'll try and work on the name. We'll try and work on something.
Absolutely. But I'm really liking this vision, and I'm sure you're going to pray that this will come to fruition. And speaking of prayer, you also mentioned a bit about your faith, and you went on a fast, social media fast. I actually saw a great video on TED Talk a few years ago about a man who fasted a year of social media, and the results that did for him was astounding. I recommend you check that out. Maybe I'll put it in the show notes in this episode. So check the description box if you're watching on YouTube, if you're listening on the podcast place. Check the description below. I'll probably have that link in there for you. But talk us through what your faith has done for you, your family, and for your marriage, for your business, and yourself, I suppose. What it means to you.
That's a very good question. I think in terms of faith and my faith and belief in God it's been a pillar that I've been standing on, and something that I try and affirm myself with regularly. So when it comes to my faith, I think it really kicked in probably just before I got married, to be honest. So I remember my wife and we decided to move back home, as part of our faith, and then just live, I guess, separately and honor that way of life. And then as we prepared to get married, we came together, and during that season of, I guess, living independently with our parents, I was able to just really hone in personally into my faith before going into marriage and those major milestones that I was about to enter into. And I think that was probably a really beautiful season, because it's partly due to COVID as well. So that obviously that kind of helped in terms of what else you get to do. You're at home, you got a Bible next to you. Hey, it's a perfect time to to get into the Word, right? So that was a really perfect time for someone like me to get back into my faith and take it seriously. And I think from then on, as part of being a part of the church community as well, that just kind of helps me just really dig deep into my faith and just also find particular scriptures that really would help me during trying times. And I think fast forward to when we got married, I then got a new job, and I was thinking, yes, I'm the guy now. You know, I've got a good job now. I'm married. We're about to get a new place, and then during that season, we actually had to raise a few more funds to secure the property we're about to purchase. And during that season, we were thinking, we've just got married. That's quite expensive, but I've got a new job, so hopefully, God willing, we'll be able to find the difference. But there were two very important things that were going to happen during that period, and within a space of 3 months, I lost my job, or people might say I left my job. And then within that time period as well, before we secured the property, we didn't have enough funds. Like, in terms of enough funds, we had a gap, a deficiency of a few thousand, shall we say, to secure on our new property. And then during that season as well, we were thinking, like, God, we're praying now. You have to show up, because there's so much here that is on the line right now. But I think if we go to, I guess, the first chapter, which is me losing or leaving my job, however people want to perceive it, it was basically down to a conversation I had with my wife, and even deep down with myself. So obviously we've now been married, and 3 months or 2 months into the job, I'm not quite enjoying it. Yes, it's a great salary and all that kind of stuff, but I wasn't enjoying it at all. I remember my dad would call me, and he was like, "Scott, how's the new job going?" He can tell by my voice that, "Scott, what's going on? This is not the Scott I know." And even my wife, she wasn't happy. She wasn't too keen on the hours and all that kind of stuff. And she knew deep down, this is not the man that I know or I married. And we had a conversation, because she knew that I want to have my own business, and I want to create an agency that is more reflective of my mission. Whereas I'm just working this job just to kind of pay bills, basically, and, you know, it's going down the traditional route. So I had a conversation with God, and I basically said, "God, you know me, you know your son. I'm not the best person at saying no. So the only way I can leave this job is if I get sacked." And then I think 2 weeks later,
you prayed to be sacked.
Exactly. So that's exactly what people said in church when they heard testimony. They were like, "What?" So what happened? So I think 2 weeks later, I got an email, impromptu email, saying, "Scott would like to have a conversation with you." And then the funny thing is, little did I know, my wife had a dream the day before, which kind of basically portrayed everything that was going to happen in this meeting. So it's like God almost warned her before it happened. So now I've had this email. I go into this virtual meeting with the American company I was working remotely, and I jump into the meeting and basically said, "Scott, we've had a conversation, and we think we're going to just end or cut ties here." And it's like, okay, no warning, nothing really, nothing at all. Just that's it, going to cut ties. And the Americans are quite hard. There's no kind of leeway or a couple of months of, you know, comfort to give you a little bit of time to have a peace. It was literally 2 weeks, and that's that. So I remember that meeting. It was very It was very, very short, let's say. And I was like, okay, then this is it. This is God heard my prayer, I guess. And I remember my wife on WhatsApp saying, I think I've just been sacked. And she was like, what? So we had a conversation, and then when I got home, I was playing a song called, I think it's called Trust You, like a gospel song called Trust You. And the lyrics were just kind of speaking to what happened in terms of having faith and trusting God no matter what's going on. And then when I got home, my wife then told me her dream, where basically there was some kind of misunderstanding, or basically a culture clash between the employer and the employee, in terms of the employee not quite gelling with the company. And I guess maybe it was a year or 2 years later, all of my team have already left that company who were in that business, and there were startups. I'm not too sure if things were going down the right direction anyway. So maybe God can maybe be out quickly before things went further. But that was the first episode of faith really having to kick in, and just believing that, hey, we're here now. Let's really trust God and let's really pursue this business. And He's been providing for us ever since, and been helping us throughout this season. And fast forward to now, at the same time, I've now obviously been let go. That was in probably November, I think it was. And we're now about to close on mortgage. And so if I now fast forward to January, a month before we were meant to get the keys for our new place, I get a contract with a client that would give me 6 months worth of work. So I was comfortable, and my wife she was in her job as well. She was good, but we still had a bit of a gap to make sure we could secure those keys. And I remember going to church, and that luckily my birthday's in January, and in January we have our fasting in church as well. So again, we were fasting and praying, and I remember our pastor said that she recited one of the scriptures where Jesus, I think, they're in the boat, and he says, we will get to the other side. And I was like, okay, that's my word for the season. We'll get to the other side, whether or not He's got the pillow and He's sleeping. We will get to the other side, regardless of the storms, whatever might happen, we'll get to the other side. So I was standing on that word throughout that season. And I remember, now it's February. February 7th is when the keys are meant to be in our hands. But February, I think the 4th, we still had a few thousands of pounds left to raise. So we've now got maybe, let's say, 5 days. We can lose all our savings in 5 days, or we can walk into our new property in 5 days. So now I've now secured the contracts, but they're now being they're kind of misbehaving in terms of deposits and whatever. So I'm really now pushing. So, hey, client X, please, can you give me a deposit to secure and commit to this agreement? And they normally say, traditionally, they don't give a deposit just yet. They normally wait until you delivered on the project for a month or two, or a month, and then they'll pay after. But luckily, again, God being so good, we were able to get the deposit. That was obviously the money that I needed to help contribute to the securing of the property. And then literally an hour before that, my wife, I get a bank notification, X amount of money has gone into our accounts. I was like, my love, what's happened? What's going on here? What's this money? And she's like, you won't believe
joint
it.
account.
Exactly. It's like she said, you won't believe it, Scott. Basically, when you remember years ago, I used to work like almost like at uni and after uni, doing like a few hours a day teaching kids how to speak English who were French speaking. And she was like, I was like, yeah. It's like they've backdated pay from all of those years of holiday that apparently they were owed to me. So, and I was like, this is like back at uni. Like, we're now 30 years old. This is like uni time. So this is like over 10 years ago. So backdated pay from then on. They've somehow remembered you after 10 years and are giving you X amount of money that has now literally 24 hours before we could have lost everything. We've now got property in a great location that's now blessing us to this day as well. So, and helping provide for us during the season while we're going on this entrepreneurial journey. So yeah, faith is one of those things that you can't see it, but you do have to believe in it. So yeah. it's one
Walk
that
by
I
faith.
sometimes remember. Yeah, by sight, exactly. Yeah, so that's my testimony, and that's my story. Yeah, yeah,
Man, that's a powerful, powerful story, man. That is
mm,
powerful, honestly. What a journey you've been on, and
mm,
you can see what God has done for you. You know, God has been that refuge for you during the COVID lockdowns. God's been that comforter, and He's been that sustainer, you know, to you during your period when you weren't married, but you were
mm,
waiting to get married. God has been a provider for you
mm,
when you needed him to come through at the last minute, or you know, at the
yeah,
final hour or the 11th hour, whatever they call it, you know, to be able to get these contracts signed for you to get the keys to your property.
mm,
Man, what a story! What a story! It just shows what faith does for you, man. And I'm sure it really is a anchor in your life and your families, man. So
yeah,
praise God, praise God.
yeah. No, thank you, and it's great to even be able to share that, because I don't even know if I've even told all of my friends like the full story and the various chapters of it. So yeah, it's great to share that with you and those who might be
Oh,
listening. Yeah.
thanks for sharing that with us. Thanks for sharing that with us. That's a powerful story, honestly. I could share similar stories, you know, to you where God has moved in a similar way in my life, and he does always come through when you want him to, but he comes through when you need him to. That's what I usually
Exactly.
say.
Yeah.
Yeah, this has been powerful, Scott. This has been powerful, Scott. You're certainly a man on a mission, and it was sad when, you know, the job wasn't working out, and you know, it was quite funny, but it's counterintuitive when you pray to get sacked and you got sacked and
Yeah.
it happened, and your wife had that dream, you know, seeing it happen before her very eyes. But then look where it's got you today, right? Look where it's got you
Yeah.
today. You know, you're doing great things, you know, for the creative and the diverse community and the conscious community. You know, you've got a good agency. The website looks fantastic, by the way. You're
Thank
doing
you.
a great job, man. So just keep it going. So on that note, what, as you believed God for crazy things, right? For him to come through at the last minute, thousands of pounds needed for you and your wife to be able to get the keys to this property. Now you have a beautiful baby boy or baby girl,
Yeah.
baby boy,
Yeah.
baby girl,
Baby boy, yeah, his name is Mikhail.
baby boy. That's it.
Yeah.
Mikhail.
Yeah.
There you go. Do you know
Yeah.
what Mikhail means? Do you know the name of Mikhail?
Yeah, so it's basically when you look at him, you'll see God. So the beauty of God is upon him. So when you see him, it's a reflection, a reminder of God's presence. Yeah.
And a reminder of what God's done for you and your
Yeah.
wife and your family. Amen.
definitely.
Praise God.
Yeah.
You know, we had a conversation with Juliana on the side of Accra some months ago, and she is the host of No Shame in My Name podcast, and she really likes to interview people who, you know, have a name, and she believes everyone who has a name has a story to share. So we'll put a link in the description notes for that episode for you guys that want to listen to that, and maybe I'll recommend you, Scott, to go on her show and tell your story about your name and maybe your boy's name, who knows. So let's you're welcome. So let's keep this going. So as I was saying before, you've obviously believed God for some crazy things, and you've taken wild, crazy steps. You know, you've walked by faith, and you've seen God, you know, move in your life in a powerful way. What crazy goals do you have for 478 Studios and in your life, and what can we expect?
Yeah, I think the craziest goal we have is to build something that would. I think the crazy goal is to create that academy for creative kids back home. That is the crazy goal that I would love to have, and part of that is kind of inspired by the Woven by projects, where I just wanted to create something that's beautiful that could maybe eventually, after we can sell X amount, ideally 80 sales is what we needed to ideally create like a school that would probably pay or provide a scholarship basically for a child to go to one of the top schools back home in Ghana, fully paid. And yeah, I hope we can do that, but on a bigger scale. That's like the crazy dream that I would love to be able to do. So in a few years' time, or in X amount of time, we'll see what happens. But that's the crazy goal that I'm hoping that we'll be able to do or deliver on through the business.
That's what's up. That's what's up, Scott. Let's keep our fingers closed. And where can everyone support the Woven by project and connect with 478 Studios and yourself?
Yeah, so our website is 478studios.com, And on our website, you can see our store where you can see our projects and our art pieces, such as Wolfenby and other things like that. And yeah, check us out on Instagram as well, 478_studios as well.
Awesome. We'll have all of the links in the description box, whether you're watching on YouTube or listening on the podcast player, so please have a look out for that. Scott, this has been an amazing conversation. I'm sure you've inspired a few people, and you've definitely inspired me today, and I hope everything goes well with the agency and with your future projects. Thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.